Join the private sector energy efficiency movement led by the National Business Initiative by plugging into energy efficiency and stem the tide of rising energy costs.
Then at the top there, I've got the low pressure sodium lights, which is the one I mentioned earlier. So they're a very, very, very yellowish light, which means that it emits a poor light spectrum, causing it to have a very low color rendering index. Ironically enough, it's one of the most efficient lights if you measure it in lux levels or lumens. But as you can see, it's not something that you typically use in an office scenario or even in a workshop, simply because of the fact that the low color rendering index causes bad sight, and our eyes are quite sensitive to the colors. We're reliant on colors in terms of to identify shapes and so on, which is why colorblind people have difficulty sometimes to identify objects that are of similar type of color. And they're mainly used for outdoor applications, so there will be street lights. Sometimes you see them in sports grounds, but I think mostly they are being factored out, and I don't think we will see them installed in any new applications anytime soon. And the power ratings typically from 50 to 200 watts. You'll see the power ratings are not very high because the efficiency is quite high. So for the same amount of watts, you can get a lot higher lux level, which is why they're only made up to about 200 watts, where if you would install a mercury vapor light in that one, you would probably put a 400 watt mercury vapor light in there to get the same lux levels. But you don't need the 400 watt because of the efficiency of the light. And they've also got a relatively long lifespan, lasting about 18,000 hours. And these have actually been known to last relatively long because of their applications. And they're usually generally used in areas where they just switched on, the left on for the day or for the night or whatever the case may be, and they switched off again in the next morning. So they don't see a lot of switching, which means that they're not influenced by the on and off type of scenarios that often, meaning that they last quite long. Then on the other side, you've got the high pressure sodium, which is very, very similar to your mercury vapor light. And as I mentioned, if you looked at it with a naked eye while it was off, you probably won't be able to identify the difference. They're used in the same types of scenarios, and high bays and floodlights ranging from 100 to about 1,000 watts. Typically, you'll see them at 250 to 400 watts in your high bays, which is the most popular ratings. And the efficiency is actually quite high, 100 to 150 lumens per watt, which is better than your mercury vapor lights, and the lifespan of 20,000 hours. So these would be roughly interchangeable with your mercury vapor. It's just a different type of technology.